Hi guys, welcome to our world-class coaching training program. You are just about ready to dive into all the different resources that we have available to you. We use the Google Drive to help keep us on track in developing you as a world-class coach. And you can do this. You can absolutely do this by focusing on the basics, mastering the basics, knowing the information. And you're not born with this stuff, so you have to read it, you have to watch it, you have to, play along with the process in terms of developing yourself to be a world-class coach delivering group personal training. So this is the highest level service within the industry. I don't care if you're talking personal training or working with teams or in obviously a regular gym. I mean, this is the absolute highest level of service possible. Taking a group of individuals and personalizing their experience, developing relationships, and ultimately winning the experience war, guys. Providing the client with an experience that they can't live without is a very powerful position to be in. So take all this in, read through it. I'm going to go through a very quick overview right now of really every little piece of the puzzle. And like I said, just mastering the basics becomes an important piece of the process. So we're going to talk about the top 10 aspects of world-class coaching. And all of those pieces kind of interconnect with each other, so they're not really black and white lines. It's all kind of bleeding into one another, but we've separated them enough that by going into each one, it's a very logical process as you go through it. So the first of the top 10 is messaging. And messaging is critical in everything that we do. Everything from the services we provide to how we interact with clients to what we say on our website to the flyers that we present to, everything is a message. So we need you to take the time to go through the messaging list, and there are quite a few items in here. Like I said, could be website, understanding the perpetual personal training system, the four core systems that make up the perpetual personal training system. The webinars are, cold and mid-level campaigns, as well as all the products, a 30-day quick start, and it just goes all the way down this list. The program logic, the sharp versus sloppy, the 5 human movements, just knowing, watching this, listening to it, and incorporating that as part of your life as a professional is important because you are delivering whatever it is, the message to the client. And we all have to be on the same page. So it does me no good to have me saying something and someone else saying something else if we're on the same team, because you're sending mixed messages to the client. And there are a lot of ways to upset a client. There are a lot of ways to lose a client. And certainly one of those ways is to give different information, but yet you're on the same team. That's very frustrating for a client to get one piece of information from someone and something else from a different team member. So we want to make sure that we're a team through this process and that we all have the same training and the same messaging, so that stylistically it might be delivered differently, but foundationally it's the same or very similar. So go through that list. The way that you would use this Google Drive, just giving you kind of backing up a hair, going to that first top level page, you want to make sure that you're giving us an idea of the completed percentage for each of those top 10. I'm 20% through it, I'm 50% through it, I'm 100% through it, whatever aspect that is. And then your credentials or equivalency. Credentials, you might have a certification in one of the 4 core systems, or you have an equivalency, which means that you're familiar with it to our standard and you're ready to coach it up. And then lastly on that page are the seminars. So we want to make sure that you're able to take a hold of those seminars and digest those and then use those with clients. So lastly on that page, there are a couple little manuals that are really important if you want to look through those. But getting back to the messaging. So yeah, you have the messaging on that Google Drive, and this is a document that you're responsible for, so you can update the dates when you've watched it, any takeaways that you have from it. We would like to see 3 takeaways from each message or video or product, or make sure that you're taking the time to go through those and you have an understanding of that. But that's just a kind of again, just messaging. And messaging, the best way to absorb that is just, you got to take the time. You got to take the time to read those pieces, you've got to take the time to watch them, and you've got to take the time to reflect upon the messaging. The next aspect gets into communication. So the first thing you'll notice under communication is the anatomy of a group personal training session. So the anatomy of a group personal training session could really go anywhere, but I put it under communication because it's forward-facing the client, and that's really the first opportunity that a client has to experience the message, the opportunity that they have to interact with you, with the organization. I mean, that's go time. So it's a really important piece, and it's the lead in communication. Everything that we're doing, how we look, what we say, how we present things, how we communicate in correcting or encouraging and challenging. I mean, everything is communication. And so we lead with that, but it bleeds into personalization, it bleeds into programming, it bleeds into messaging, it bleeds into everything. But it was probably, in my opinion, most appropriate to put it under communication. So the communication, as you go beyond that, really gets into like a standard and expectation of how to behave as a professional within a team. And we could all be on our own doing our own thing, and there'd be really no need necessarily for team communication, but we're not, because we're stronger as a group. We can affect more clients and more people, and we can be stronger together. So we want to make sure that we're getting there together. So by looking at all of these, some of them are very straightforward, but it's important to at least provide the expectation that that you do look the part, that you are smiling, that it is part of the uniform, that you are prepared, that you're engaged, that you're practicing all these different things. Maybe it's coach to coach communication, maybe it's coach to client, just depends. But communication is really critical for everything, whether it be positive or negative. I mean, communication is huge. So we want you to have processes and things in place if there are issues, like the issue clear with colleagues, or if there are roadblocks, if there are things just holding you up and you're not really sure how to do something, you need to ask. You need to reach out and, hey, I'm not able to service a session, or they've gone over a session. How do we handle it? And we obviously want to practice that golden rule. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. Make sure that you're talking about your business, not others. I would consider that gossip. It's just not appropriate. So those are things that kind of are very problematic within a work setting of any size, be it 5 people or 500 people. So we want to make sure that we are professional, we're very positive, we respect our colleagues, and we're leaning on each other. We have to find the good in one another and not necessarily be critical. And if you're critical, then I consider that to be helpful if you're critical in a way that's constructive, which then provides maybe like a recommendation. So, we aren't perfect, and we're always looking for better ways to do something, and sometimes a different perspective is helpful. So it can be approached in a very positive way by providing, hey, this is something that we're currently doing. I think there might be a better way to do it. And this is my recommendation, or this is my idea. And those types of things are awesome. I don't look at that as critical at all. I think of that as very constructive. But maybe to be critical of something and not to provide like a solution, that may not be the best way to handle it. So if there's a better way to do it, let's do it. If there's not a better way to do it, let's execute what we're currently doing, and go from there. So the other thing on here in terms of communication, is closing the facility professionally, making sure that you're communicating with the coaches on your team to make sure everything's tight, everything looks good. Or hey, there's an issue, we need to be corrected tomorrow, and let's see who can jump on that. So all of those types of things lead us down to the last one, and it's not necessarily last for any particular reason other than it's just there, is the delivering world-class coaching. So that's going to be a seminar. Make sure you guys watch that. Make sure you understand all aspects of world-class coaching, as well as delivering world-class customer service. So there are certainly ways that we can be more proactive with delivering that type of high-level service that you need to know, because it does go beyond just the basics. And it's very deliberate. It's not just, it doesn't happen. You need to know how to offer a world-class experience for the clients that we're working with. So number 3, we get into programming, and programming is huge as well, but it gets into those 4 core systems. We talk about, the program that we have in place, some of the different videos that we have, the 5 human movements, knowing the difference between a sharp and sloppy program, and you're talking about those types of things to keep people sharp and the reason why they might be paying more. But when you get back to the world-class experience, you really want to make price irrelevant by enhancing the experience. So with a better experience, you start to really wear away at what the price is, and we need to definitely do that. So also you're using the performance journey that is on the wall as a way to program for clients, and it gives them a very specific program to follow to take them from where they currently are to where they want to go. And then of course you're familiar with a variety of StrongFirst resources, and all of these different things that I'm mentioning, when you look at your Google Drive, you'll have instant access to each of them, whether it's going to a YouTube video or whether it's going to a PDF. It's just right there. So just keep track of on the Google Drive, when you've read it, when you've watched it, and kind of a status update on maybe some things that you found interesting or things you might be working on. That's very helpful. And then personalization. So personalization is a hallmark of what we're doing with group personal training. Obviously, we're not running people through boot camp. They can get that somewhere else for much cheaper. So if we make it boot camp, we won't have any clients. So there would be no need to employ you. We definitely don't want to offer boot camp. We want to offer group personal training. We want to do it in a very cool, very personalized way that provides a great experience. And the personalization really has to do with your performance journey. So making sure that clients are wearing bands and talking about bands, and at least placing them verbally in the band is important. Obviously, you're going to be familiar with them and what they can do. You're going to challenge or regress based upon their fitness level or their exercise, scheme or their goals and their values and their capacity. And you're also going to know their history, and you're going to make recommendations from there. Then you get into movement expertise. So our clients, probably of all of these on that 1 to 10, would expect you to be a movement expert. That is their expectation. That just comes with the territory. So you are a coach and you're in the fitness industry, you better be a movement expert. And I would even take that one step beyond, because you really need to go beyond their expectation if you're going to wow them. And that is to be a form fanatic. Absolutely be a form fanatic. Now, how you come across is going to be very positive, very constructive, so that it's not negative. But those are things that, again, you can work on. First thing to do is to make sure you know movement really well. Anatomy, biomechanics, how it applies to using different tools like kettlebells, and how to keep a client safe, and how to know how to correct them in a way that's very positive and they receive it very well and they value it. And you'll learn more about that. But with the movement expert components, all of these are going to be seminar based, so you can look at each one of them and go through and understand them. But the first one there, the spine health with Dr. Stuart McGill, we followed back mechanics to a T. I expect everyone to read that, watch the seminar. Breathing, we have a variety of different resources on breath, but breathing is the key to movement. So you need to make sure that you know that you're cueing that you're encouraging clients to do that, because holding your breath is very common within our society and within our environments. Then you go into original strength and neural resets. Again, a nice seminar you guys can look at. Ton of different resources you can potentially purchase through Tim Anderson and Original Strength. But neural resets are really important for everybody, regardless of their fitness level and where they are. It's going to help them move better and really connect in the way that their body moves. And then, of course, StrongFirst. And that's getting into our specialty with kettlebells and strength, how to move them safely. There is a very set way to move a kettlebell, and we expect you to be consistent with the team. So make sure you're attending seminars, make sure you're watching the videos that we're providing, because we do expect a consistency. Again, there are a lot of ways to lose a client. I get it, but one of the most common ways that we might potentially lose a client is if I'm saying something and someone else is saying something else. That is an inconsistency that doesn't really feel good if you're a client. It starts to wear away at my, like, who do I trust? What do I do? So we're a part of a team. We need to be consistent with our approach. There are a variety of different approaches when it comes to movement that might be successful, and you need to have different tools at your disposal, but in general there needs to be a very standard operating procedure when you're doing a Turkish get-up, when you're doing a swing, when you're doing a deadlift. There should be some consistency amongst all of us, and so watch those videos and make sure that you're following that path to help a client move better and stay safe. All right, then we get into the functional movement screen. All of those videos, take a look at. You could also dive into functional movement systems online, ton of different resources through Gray Cook, Lee Burton, but the videos just give you a very quick snapshot of what we typically might do on an onboarding, as well as some of the correctives that we could employ in the event that you do have one of your clients who are in a session and they have a certain band, they have a certain limitation, they have a movement deficiency that does require correction. So you can start programming for that. Then you get into conditioning, and conditioning, just really understanding energy systems. So make sure you're taking a look at the resources that we have listed in the Google Drive for energy systems and know what our program typically emphasizes, and then how you can get as much as you can out of delivering that program to your clients. And then of course, knowing what to recommend for endurance athletes, because if you're an endurance athlete, you're doing 50 miles of running a week, there may not be a need for some of the similar energy system training that we might employ within a program of ours. So just being aware of that. And then healthy eating. So healthy eating options and philosophy need to be at least addressed, understood. Go through these, make sure you've read the Precision Nutrition booklet. Make sure you're aware of the different options that clients have, because when you're talking to a client, or if you're going through a reassessment and there's some frustration and it's important for you to recognize that, hey, maybe this person is trying to lose weight and they're not. Well, what else can we do? I mean, you've got to talk about that. You've got to, during the reassessment, realize that, hey, this person has been the same for the last 3 months. I mean, maybe you should ask a question. Mary, what is your plan? What is your strategy for healthy eating? I mean, I know you've been coming 3 days a week. Are you doing some additional conditioning or cardiovascular exercise, on off days? Those are all good questions to ask, because there might be, a need for her to have some coaching or some recommendations that help her improve her intake that will then lead to a change in her body weight, because that's kind of why she's there, is to get a favorable outcome. And then you get into complementary services that we offer, everything from advanced pain to neurokinetic therapy, massage, conditioning, running, group things. So make sure you're familiar with all of those types of complementary services. And this is a quick little overview of the entire training program to become a world-class coach. So everyone has a Google Drive. You're responsible for updating the information in that Google Drive in terms of the folder, the file that we have. It has a bunch of different tabs on the bottom of it, and you'll see that. And we can go through that more in detail. But at this point, this is a quick little overview. Make sure you update all your Google Drive information in the World Class Coaching file, and we'll just keep chunking away at each aspect until we achieve a 9 or higher as a team on a 1 to 10 scale as it pertains to being a world-class coach. So this is Corey, reminding you to stay smart, stay sharp, and stay strong.